Guys, welcome back to my channel. How are you doing? If you are new, my name is Lizzie. You are welcome to my channel. White people, we need to talk. So this lady called white people out and they respond to it. What she said, oh, she is against racist. Racist is not good. But let me leave you guys to let's dive into this racist issue.
White people, we need to talk. Today's topic, those other white people. Now, if you recognize this theme song and this face, then you know that the only thing I hate in this world is racists and lima beans. So, since you're still here, I have to assume that you're not a racist or a lima bean. But I gotta let you know, those other white people are making y'all look really bad. They've been out here doing all kind of shit, passing all kind of laws trying to erase people like me from existence. And the problem is, we don't hear y'all say nothing about that, which makes those other white people think y'all are cool with it. And it creates a big problem for us because, unfortunately, we can't tell whether you're one of them. So, we need you guys to speak up. Now, nobody wants you to go confronting those other white people in the wild. We all know they got guns and just can't wait to use them. So when you see them on the street, try to keep your distance. But when you find yourself around them in a more casual or intimate situation, that's when you need to say something. As soon as you hear things about, well, the Irish were slaves and Chicago has all the crime and all the other kinds of things that they like to say, oh, Africans sold their own people, then you just have to say, I'm not with that, and leave, or put their asses out. And then come back and tell us about it. Stitch or duet this video with the hashtag #NotAlimaBean. That way, we'll know you're not one of those things that I hate.
White person who gets very offended when a black, indigenous, or other person of color assumes that you're a racist for their own safety until you prove that you're not. You ought to stop and think about the other group who also assumes that you're racist for their own safety until you prove that you're not. And that's actual racists. Racist white people get very comfortable when it's just other white people around, thinking that this is a free, safe space to be racist. Case in point, I was visiting my hometown in Texas when it was the 2008 presidential election, and I went to a friend's house. He had a bunch of family members over, they were having some kind of dinner, and I was the outsider. But because of my pasty complexion, dude's uncle felt very safe to start making racist comments about then Senator Barack Obama. That old man really said Lincoln would be turning over in his grave. And I said, you mean the guy that signed the Emancipation Proclamation? Really? I didn't care I was in their house. Don't be cool with racists assuming you're racist.
That's literally what that means. Look, my fellow rice cakes, I'm gonna say something out loud that you would probably prefer I kept to myself, but we are terrible at self-examination because we are obsessed with being perceived as good. We are good people with good intentions who do good things, and we know that racism is bad, so we're offended by the mere insinuation that we could be capable of dehumanizing anybody. And that line of thinking right there is why we continue to take L's left and right, because you can't confront a problem if you don't acknowledge the problem exists. Listen, you are not evil and bad because you were born white, and no reasonable person is saying that you are. What we're saying is that it is a problem if you don't acknowledge what it means to have been born white in a racist society. It is a problem if you're not willing to examine the privileges, I know we all hate that word, but the privileges, the benefits, and the means of insulation we inherit by virtue of being born white. And it's not that we can't experience other disadvantages, including some that we may share with Black, Indigenous, and other people of color. We can be discriminated against on the basis of our sexuality, our gender, our physical abilities, our economic status. There are plenty of reasons why a given white person might grow up in a shitty situation. But the color of our skin has never, ever, ever, ever been one of those problems. And if you can't say that out loud, then you're being racist. White folks, we have to disabuse ourselves of this notion that to be racist is to walk around throwing out the N-word left and right. That's not what that means. Racism sleeps. Racism waits. Racism is little things that you don't even know that you're doing until somebody tells you about it after the fact. If you could always see racism from space, then we, and by we I mean white people and only white people, wouldn't have been so shocked over the last few years to discover that so many of our loved ones are big old racist bags of shit. Because one, racism is subtle, it sneaks up on you, it manifests in tiny ways, and two, we never had to interrogate those behaviors because we were insulated by racism. Listen, bigotries of all kinds often manifest unconsciously, by accident, and the only way we can catch it, the only way we can be vigilant, is to rely on other people to let us know and then to build our experience around that knowledge. If you can just get comfortable with the fact that prejudice is an inherent part of the human experience, then getting feedback about it will involve a lot fewer tears and heartbreak. In conclusion, my fellow Snowmericans, to be good is to accept your limitations and be okay with being wrong.
That there's never real any nuance when we're talking about these topics. Something that I think people forget is all of the ways that the media have trained us that people who have darker skin are supposed to act a certain way, and that they do act a certain way, and that people should be fearful of them because they probably are acting that way or will act that way. On top of that, we have people who get on this app every day and say they hate white people. So if you are a white person and you're going to a place of business and you see a lighter skinned person or just a white person, you're probably gonna want to interact with that person because you've been conditioned by the media and social media to think that all Black people see white people as the enemy and will therefore be mean to them. But let's just totally throw that out and just say every white person is racist. Yeah.
Video got taken down, so I want to try this again. Basically 99% of the time, if you're a white person talking at or patronizing Black people about race, you're going to be wrong and it's going to age fucking terribly. Not with Black people, but like at Black people, it's gonna be bad. All those clips from the 50s and 60s where people are like, I just don't want my neighbors to be Black. Like, they sounded reasonable at the time. Specifically, if your impulse to speak about race comes from like, well, not all white people are like, well, actually, you know, I'm white and I don't, like, you're wrong. Like, no matter how crazy it is, even if it was a dude on the side of the street being like, the white man is made by a devil scientist, Specifically, the impulse to defend whiteness is racist. Whiteness only exists to exclude other people. All the people who are white now weren't even white the whole time. Irish, Italian people, y'all were white. Y'all are now. It's not real. The guy on the corner of the street is nuts, but they used to feed Black babies to alligators. We didn't just get to this point because he's crazy. We got to this point because the history of this country is fucking nuts.
I research and report on race for a living, and one thing that I've learned is that when white people are exposed to Black cultural practices and experiences that don't align with their own, their response is rarely curiosity. They rarely want to learn more. Instead, their initial reaction is typically to mock that thing, to make fun of it. And I've learned that this is because white supremacy thrives on being centered, and it thrives on being portrayed as superior. And so when white people mock how Black folks step, dance, talk, not only is it disrespectful, not only is it trying to center whiteness, but it's also asserting white superiority. The message is that not only is this Black cultural practice inferior, but it's worth being ridiculed. Definitely learn more about how racial dynamics color everyday life by reading this book, Why Are All the Black Kids Sitting Together in the Cafeteria, by Beverly.
Police look into possible hate crime charges as they reveal new details about the circumstances leading up to the killing of Metairie handyman Lawrence Herr last month.
As Rob Masson reports, they say one of the suspects has admitted to his role, saying they just wanted to go out and kill a white guy.
They have been booked with the first-degree murder of 66-year-old handyman Lawrence Herr, also known as Peanut, who was gunned down while repairing this mailbox on Kenner's Georgetown Place last month.
This man was out minding his own business. He was a good Samaritan, just doing his job as he does. As you travel through this community, people speak very highly of him. So it's just sickening.
During a Tuesday video appearance in magistrate court, Kenner Police Detective Nicholas Engler said that 23-year-old Taj Matthews and 25-year-old Maurice Holmes were captured on surveillance video taken at a Clemson Drive apartment complex just 2 hours before the killing. In the video, the detective testified that Holmes can be seen passing a weapon to Matthews. The detective also testified that a box of 9mm bullets were found on the floor of the car used in the deadly drive-by shooting last month.
Later in the confession, they did indicate that they were specifically not only looking to kill somebody, but they wanted to be a white person.
Racism, by definition, is prejudice based on race. That race is typically marginalized, but not all the time. I appreciate your activism. Our opinion on this matters too.
I hate that word, but have I used it with the A sound before? Yeah, with my close friends.
Can I don't like I don't like when Africans say it.
I'm sorry, what?
I don't like when Africans say the N-word.
With the, just any type of way?
We're different. I do hear you and understand you, right? Every African, I promise you, every African that says the N-word, I tell them, do your parents say it? And they all be like, hell no. And I'm like, so why do you?
Never.
My parents say it, my grandparents say it, their grandparents say it. No African parents, grandparents, and
yeah, I will say mine.
You get
will
what
never,
I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we gotta work hard to get rid of it. It's like y'all picking it up because it sounds fun.
I'm glad that you shared that with me because I never heard someone have an issue with African people saying that word.
So this is in reference to the N-word, and I have a genuine question for so many people. Do you think slavery did not happen in Africa? Thank you so much, guys, for watching to the end. If you have not yet subscribed, please just hit that subscribe down below. Turn on notification. Anytime I upload a video, you will be notified. And feel free to leave your opinion down. What do you think about this video?